Good evening, and welcome to Quiet Science. Why does one patch of grass mean dinner to a deer, danger to a rabbit, and almost nothing at all to an owl passing overhead? An animal never meets the whole world at once. It catches only certain pieces, a thread of scent, a flicker of movement, the warmth of a body, the tremble of the ground. Then its own condition changes the meaning. Hunger sharpens one signal, fear brightens another, and memory quietly lays old experiences over the present. A place where food was found yesterday may glow with promise. After one bad scare, the same landmarks can whisper warning for weeks. Even time matters, with dawn, night, or spring turning different switches on. If you're listening from somewhere in the world tonight, you can say hello. It means the world to this little channel. Settle in, and let's step into the strange private worlds animals live inside. An animal never meets the whole world. It meets only what its body can take in. Light enters an eye if the eye can catch it. Odor molecules touch a receptor if the air or water carries them there. Vibrations pass through ground, branch, water, or air. Warmth and cold press against skin. A surface gives way under a foot, a jaw, an arm, a bill. From the beginning, behavior starts inside this narrow opening, not in the full spread of the world beyond it. What exists around an animal is always larger than what arrives within it. Because of that, different species begin in different worlds, even when they stand in the same place. A moth may be guided mainly by scent, following drifting traces through the night. A hawk may rely heavily on sharp vision, taking its direction from what can be seen at a distance. Neither one enters a common scene in the same way. Each receives a different selection of signals, and from that selection, a different life becomes possible. The first shape of action is already there, in what can be detected and what remains absent. Inside the body, another set of conditions waits quietly before any movement begins. Hunger changes the value of a food odor. Thirst changes the meaning of water. Fear sharpens some cues and dims others. Fatigue lowers the force of response. Reproductive hormones make certain sounds, scents, seasons, and distances suddenly matter. Internal state does not merely color behavior after it begins. It sets the starting conditions. It decides, in part, what counts as important enough to notice and what can pass by without effect. The body also keeps time. Daily clocks and seasonal clocks alter the weight of the same cue. A sound at dawn does not always mean what it means at night. A scent in spring does not always carry the same force in another season. The world outside may offer the same light, the same air, the same path, but the body receives those offerings through rhythms already in motion. Life stage adds another quiet layer. A larva, a juvenile, an adult, a pregnant parent, each begins from different needs and so each attends to different signs. Memory lays stored experience over the present moment. A place where food was found before is not only a place, it is also a remembered success. A shape associated with a predator is not only a shape, it carries an older meaning within it. Companions, rivals, routes, shelters, feeding grounds, all can remain in the nervous system as traces that compare themselves with what is sensed now. Recent experience can tune behavior even more quickly. An animal that has just eaten, fought, or escaped may respond differently from the same animal an hour earlier. Its body and nervous system have been altered by what has just happened. The immediate surroundings keep adding their own pressure. Wind direction changes how odor arrives. Cover changes the cost of crossing open ground. Crowding can block one action and encourage another. Noise can hide a signal. Water currents can carry a drifting larva toward one place and away from another. The simple distance to a goal or a threat matters too. Nearness changes urgency. A world full of mixed messages is ordinary. Food scent may drift from an exposed place. Safety may lie in one direction, while opportunity lies in another. Behavior often begins with conflict. Many animals are born with action tendencies already in place. Warmth can draw movement. A moving object can attract following. A sudden shadow can bring stillness. Learning may later refine these responses, but it does not create every beginning from nothing. Some animals also inherit rough directional programs, moving toward open sea, uphill water, or a seasonal route before experience fills in detail. Even simple nervous systems can produce flexible behavior. A small number of nerve cells can still weigh competing inputs like light, touch, and chemical traces. Social context changes the scene as well. The presence of a mate, a rival, a parent, or a group can raise or lower the chance of a particular act. Energy reserves sit in the background, quiet but decisive. A well-fed animal can afford caution. A starving one may accept greater risk. What looks like a calm pause may already be a prepared state. Senses sampling, muscles ready, the nervous system comparing options before anything visible happens. Stillness can hold many possible actions inside it. The next movement, when it comes, is not the first event. It is only the first one that can be seen. Behavior begins when receptors convert events outside the body into nerve signals. A flash of light, a drifting odor, a tremor in water, the pressure of touch, each becomes a pattern that the nervous system can compare with other patterns. This conversion is a quiet threshold. Before it, there is light or odor or vibration in the world. After it, there is activity moving through nerve cells, available to be combined, strengthened, weakened, or ignored. The animal does not act on the outside event directly. It acts on what its receptors have turned that event into. Every later choice depends on this first translation. Signals from different senses arrive together, and they do not remain separate for long. The brain or nerve cord combines them so that one cue can strengthen another, weaken it, or override it entirely. A sound may matter more if it comes from the same direction as a movement. A chemical trace may lose force if touch reports a barrier. An animal lives among converging streams of information, not isolated messages. What finally guides action is often the joined pattern, the way multiple signals settle into a temporary balance. A single cue may seem clear on its own, but in the nervous system it meets others, and its meaning changes there. The body's state can alter the meaning of the same signal with great precision. A hungry frog may snap at a small moving shape. Motion of the right kind is enough to release the strike. But if the frog's body is cool and digestion is slow, that same movement may be ignored. The outside cue has not changed. The small shape still passes through view. What changes is the condition of the body receiving it. Temperature and digestion shift the readiness of the whole animal. Action does not lie in the stimulus alone. It emerges from the meeting between the stimulus and the body that holds it. Some rules work well in the conditions where they evolved, and yet become misleading in a changed setting. A moth flying at night can hold a steady angle to a distant light source. Usually this helps orientation. A distant source remains effectively fixed, and the rule gives stable guidance through darkness. Near a lamp, though, the same rule no longer fits the geometry of the situation. The cue is real. The response is real. But the relationship between them has altered, and a once useful rule can lead the animal into looping, circling error. Behavior remains lawful even when it goes astray. The misstep comes from applying a good rule in the wrong arrangement of surroundings. Salmon entering a river begin to favor familiar chemical traces. Dissolved odors form a layered guide toward the stream where they developed. The water carries these traces in shifting currents, and the fish responds to a remembered pattern within them. What is present in the river now meets what was stored earlier. The route is not a blank passage discovered anew each time. It is a comparison between present chemistry and older chemistry, between drifting molecules and memory. In that meeting, direction appears. The fish moves not toward a single sign, but through a sequence of familiar traces, each one narrowing the path. Desert ants leave the nest and continuously update the distance and direction they have traveled. Ground that looks almost featureless does not erase the path from the nervous system. As the ant moves outward, information about movement accumulates. Turn by turn, stretch by stretch, a running record forms. Because of this updating, a direct return becomes possible. The homeward path does not require a visible trail laid across the surface. It can arise from the ant's own ongoing account of where it has gone. Even in a sparse landscape, action can remain exact when the body keeps measuring itself against the journey. A bat chasing an insect adjusts each turn after hearing the timing of returning echoes. The world ahead changes by fractions of a second, and the bat changes with it. Sound leaves the body, touches the moving insect, and returns altered by distance and position. Each returning echo updates the chase. No single estimate is enough. The pursuit is a rapid stream of correction, one turn following another, guided by intervals so brief that action and sensing almost seem to overlap into one continuous event. The path through the air is not chosen once. It is remade again and again as fresh echo timing arrives. A hunting owl can aim beneath snow by listening for faint rustles. Sound direction gives one part of the target. Then comes the plunge through the surface. The action joins listening and movement into one sequence. Snow hides what vision cannot settle, but the rustle remains. The owl does not need the prey to be visible above the white cover. The cue comes from beneath, slight and brief, and still it is enough to shape the strike. What matters is not only the presence of sound, but its direction, and the body's ability to turn that directional information into a precise descent. In a grazing deer, feeding and vigilance often alternate. The head lowers for bites, then lifts again. Each behavior temporarily suppresses the other. While feeding is active, full attention to scanning is reduced. While vigilance takes hold, feeding pauses. The animal does not perform every useful act at once. Competing needs take turns in control. Food draws the head down. Risk draws it up. The pattern can look simple from outside, but within it lies a constant negotiation between nourishment and caution. The alternation itself is a form of organization, a rhythm shaped by the fact that some behaviors cannot fully coexist in the same moment. When a crab detects a looming shadow, escape may happen before full identification. Rapid circuits favor speed when the cost of hesitation is high. A shadow that grows in the wrong way across the animal's view can be enough. There may be no time for a slower, more exact judgment. Body is arranged so that certain patterns trigger immediate movement away. In such cases, error may be tolerated more easily than delay. The animal does not wait to know everything. It acts on a warning shape because the danger of pausing may exceed the danger of a mistaken retreat. Courtship often begins only when several channels agree. Season matters. Body condition matters. A species-specific song matters. The right distance from a potential mate matters. No single cue may be sufficient on its own. The behavior waits for a convergence. When those signals align closely enough, the probability of courtship rises. This joining of conditions helps narrow the moment. The song must be right, but so must the season. The body must be ready, and the social setting as well. Reproduction depends on timing, and timing grows more exact when different sources of information confirm one another before action begins. A songbird may sing more strongly at dawn because hormones, light level, and social opportunity coincide within a narrow daily window. The behavior is not caused by light alone, or by hormones alone, or by the mere presence of other birds. Its force comes from overlap. At dawn, the body clock has reached a certain point, the light has reached a certain level, and the social scene may offer the right chance for the signal to matter. The result is a brief period when singing rises. The daily world is not evenly weighted. Certain hours gather conditions together, and behavior gathers there with them. Female mosquitoes switch from seeking nectar to seeking blood after mating and as egg development begins. Internal chemistry redirects attention. Cues that once drew the animal become less central, while other cues gain power. The outside world may still contain flowers and the same familiar sources of nectar, but the body no longer values them in the same way. A new physiological state rearranges what stands out. Behavior changes direction because the animal has changed. The same air carries different importance once mating and egg development alter the chemistry within. A bee returning to a flower patch can become more efficient over repeated visits. Colors, shapes, and spacing that predict nectar are learned and remembered. The patch becomes less uncertain. With each successful return, details of the flowers settle into a more useful pattern. The bee does not merely revisit, it improves. What was once a general area of possibility becomes a known arrangement of rewards. Learning narrows search and sharpens choice. The body moves through the patch with increasing economy because recent success has taught which features deserve attention and which can be passed over. Octopuses often explore with their arms before committing the whole body. Cracks and shells are touched and sampled chemically at close range. The animal gathers local information first, holding back larger movement until the immediate details are clearer. This sequence matters. The arm reaches where the body has not yet gone. Touch and chemical cues arrive from the surface itself, from narrow spaces and edges. The octopus uses these local signals to judge what lies ahead. Behavior unfolds in stages: approach, sample, compare, then commit or withdraw. The whole animal does not rush where a part can investigate more safely. A fish in a school adjusts speed and direction to nearby neighbors. Distance and motion are read quickly, and group movement emerges from many such responses happening together. No single fish needs to hold the full shape of the school in mind. Each one answers the shifting positions around it. A neighbor turns, another closes distance, another drifts away. Small corrections pass through the group, and a larger pattern appears. The school bends, tightens, spreads, or changes direction as if it were one body, though it is made of many bodies, each responding to local cues in rapid succession. Young sea turtles hatch with a brief sequence of rules. They move away from darker dunes toward brighter open horizons, and then into wave-guided swimming. Experience does not need to supply the first outline. The program is already present in rough form, ready to unfold in order. Darkness behind, brightness ahead, wave motion after entry into the water. Each cue arrives at the appropriate stage and releases the next movement. The sequence is short and urgent. It does not contain a full life's knowledge. It contains just enough direction to carry the hatchling through an early passage before later experience can add more detail. A caterpillar can stop feeding and begin to wander when hormones signal the approach of metamorphosis. Even if leaves remain abundant nearby, the outside world still offers food. The body, however, has shifted its priorities. Hormonal change suppresses one behavior and releases another. Feeding gives way to searching movement. What matters now is no longer the leaf immediately under the mouth parts, but the internal transition already underway. This is one of the clearest examples of how strongly internal state can overrule present opportunity. Abundance alone does not decide action. The body's timetable may close one possibility while opening another. Male elephant seals may delay a fight after judging an opponent's size and voice. Assessment can prevent costly combat. The rival is not merely detected, he is evaluated. Size and voice provide information that enters the contest before the bodies collide. If the estimate suggests a poor outcome, delay may follow. Behavior here is not only the release of aggression, it includes restraint shaped by comparison. The cost of fighting matters, and cues about the opponent help determine whether the cost should be paid. A pause before combat can hold as much decision as the fight itself. In many birds, day length helps trigger migratory restlessness. Activity increases before the journey begins. The route has not yet unfolded, but the body is already leaning toward movement. Light across the days acts as a seasonal cue, and behavior changes in advance of departure. Restlessness is a preparation, a sign that migration starts internally before it becomes visible in travel. The animal is not simply waiting for the landscape to command departure. Its own timing system has begun to shift. A season enters the body through day length, and the body answers with rising activity. As migration unfolds, birds can combine the sun, stars, landmarks, and Earth's magnetic field. When clouds hide one source or terrain blocks another, they can shift among cues. Orientation is not always tied to a single guide. It can be distributed across several, each available under different conditions. This flexibility matters because the journey passes through changing skies and changing ground. A star pattern may serve in one moment, a landmark in another. The magnetic field may remain when other cues are obscured. Migration becomes possible through combination and substitution, a moving balance among available sources of direction. A honeybee that finds rich nectar can return and dance. Nestmates then decide whether to follow by blending the dance with their own recent foraging experience. Social information enters a private history. The dance offers a report about reward, but it does not erase what another bee has just learned elsewhere. Each potential follower weighs the communicated source against recent memory. If recent foraging has gone well in another place, the dance may carry less force. If recent searching has been poor, the same dance may become more persuasive. Even within a social exchange, action depends on the meeting between current signals and individual experience. Predators often use search images. After repeated encounters with one prey type, they become temporarily better at noticing its shape or color. Recent success tunes attention. Among many forms and textures in the environment, one pattern rises into readiness. The predator does not become universally better at seeing everything. It becomes selectively better at noticing what has lately mattered. This temporary sharpening can guide search toward the prey type most recently found. Attention itself becomes part of behavior, not just a passive background. What the animal has been finding changes what it is prepared to find again. A lizard basking on a rock repeatedly shuttles between sun and shade. By moving back and forth, it keeps body temperature within a workable range. The environment offers patches of warmth and coolness, and the lizard uses movement to place itself where the body needs to be. No single spot remains right for long. Sun raises temperature, shade lowers it. The animal's path becomes a small oscillation between these alternatives. Thermoregulation here is not a hidden internal correction alone. It is visible in the repeated crossing of a boundary, the measured use of place to maintain a workable body state. Many marine larvae rise or sink at different times of day. Light and gravity guide these changes in position, and the changes place the larvae in helpful currents. The water is not uniform from top to bottom. Different layers move differently. By responding to daily changes in light and to gravity, the larvae alter which current carries them. A small vertical movement can lead to a larger horizontal journey. Behavior here is delicate and indirect. The animal does not power its way across the sea toward a chosen destination. It shifts depth, and the moving water does the rest. A wolf following a scent trail samples the air in bursts. Each new odor patch updates the direction of travel. The trail is not a perfect line laid steadily across the ground. Odor arrives unevenly, broken by wind and terrain. The wolf moves through a patchwork. A stronger patch may pull the path one way, a weaker one another. The animal advances by repeated correction, not by simple continuous following. Each sample adds a fresh estimate. The route is rebuilt from one burst of air to the next, with direction emerging from successive updates rather than from a complete and constant signal. Parental behavior can switch on abruptly after birth or hatching. Sounds, smells, and hormones make offspring-related cues especially powerful. Before that shift, the same cues may not hold the same force. After it, they can dominate action. Body's chemistry and the arrival of the young align to raise the priority of care. Calls, scents, and proximity now matter in a new way. This change can be sudden because the internal conditions have been preparing for it. Once they meet the right external cues, a different set of behaviors takes control, and attention turns strongly toward offspring. A chick imprinted on a moving parent-like shape may follow it across open ground. A brief early experience can lock in a later response. The shape need not be learned over a long period. There is a short time when the experience has unusual force, and what is encountered then can become the target of following behavior afterward. The result is a durable link between an early perception and later action. Memory enters quickly and then holds. The open ground may offer many movements and many forms, but the imprinted shape stands apart because of when it was first met. When food is patchy, a forager may leave a site because recent rewards have fallen below what memory suggests is possible elsewhere. Present intake is compared with remembered possibility. The decision to depart depends not only on what remains in the patch, but on what the animal has learned about other patches. A slowing stream of reward can lower the value of staying. Memory provides a wider context than the immediate ground underfoot. The animal acts on a comparison between here and elsewhere, between current returns and stored expectation. Some reef fish change cleaning stations or hiding places after a predator scare. Fresh danger can outweigh older routines. A place used repeatedly in safety may lose its value quickly once it becomes associated with threat. Recent experience rises above habit. The fish does not have to erase its older knowledge completely. It only has to give greater weight to the latest event. In that moment, a new memory of danger shifts the balance. The familiar station or shelter remains known, but no longer trusted in the same way. Action turns toward another option. During winter, a hibernating mammal's reduced temperature and metabolism alter responsiveness. behaviors common in summer are temporarily suppressed. The animal still exists within the same larger world of smells, sounds, and seasonal structures, but its lowered body state changes what can be done with them. Responsiveness narrows. The active repertoire contracts. This is not simply inactivity laid over an unchanged body. The body itself has entered another mode, and behavior changes because the conditions for responding have changed from within. Summer actions wait until summer conditions return inside the animal as well as outside it. A shorebird probing mud often quickens or slows its pecs according to touch feedback from the bill. Each contact updates the next action. The mud is not searched by a fixed rhythm alone. Information arrives with every probe. A certain feel may encourage faster pecking. Another may slow it. The bill gathers local detail, and the feeding pattern adjusts almost immediately. Behavior here is fine-grained and continuous. The animal does not set a single pace and hold it regardless of result. It listens through touch, and the movement pattern changes as the substrate answers back. When a territorial bird hears a neighbor's familiar song, it may respond less aggressively than to a stranger. Recognition shapes action. The song is not only a sound pattern in the present, it is also a remembered identity. Familiarity lowers one kind of response, while novelty raises it. The territory is defended differently depending on who seems to be present. Memory, therefore, enters even a brief acoustic exchange. The bird does not react only to intrusion in the abstract. It reacts to a particular singer, known or unknown, and behavior shifts with that distinction. Spawning corals release eggs and sperm only during narrow environmental windows. Lunar timing, water temperature, and daily light cues must align closely enough. Reproduction waits for this convergence. The sea may be full of motion and life on many other nights, but the release does not happen simply because the organisms are mature. Several conditions have to meet within a precise span. Timing becomes collective through shared response to the same environmental pattern. The event is held back until the cues agree. Then the stored readiness becomes action. At any moment, behavior is often the winner of a quiet competition among drives. Feeding pushes, fleeing pushes, resting pushes, courting pushes, caring for young pushes. These tendencies do not always speak with equal force, and they do not all speak to the nervous system in the same moment or with the same urgency. One rises above the others and takes control for a time. Then the balance shifts. Much of animal life can be understood as this ongoing contest, shaped by senses, memory, hormones, temperature, social presence, recent events, and the immediate arrangement of the world. After a successful forage, hunger signals usually drop. The same sights or smells that recently triggered urgent searching may no longer do so, at least for a while. A body that has been filled does not value food cues in the same way as a body that is empty. The world outside may remain unchanged. The patch still smells of nectar or prey or ripe fruit. Yet the urgency has softened. One action has altered the starting conditions for the next. Behavior leaves traces in the body, and those traces change what later cues can accomplish. A frightening encounter can leave a lasting memory. A place that was once neutral may later be avoided because its landmarks now predict danger. The ground has not changed its shape. The water has not changed its current. The tree line or rock edge remains where it was, but memory has attached a warning to those features. Future movement bends around that warning. What happened once enters the structure of later choice. In this way, a moment of fear can continue long after the immediate threat has gone, carried forward as altered response to a familiar place. When young birds follow experienced adults on migration, the route can persist across generations as a learned tradition rather than a fixed map in the genes. The path remains because it is repeated in company. Direction passes through behavior itself, from older birds to younger ones moving beside them. A journey becomes durable through inherited tendencies and shared travel. Memory is held in living movement, in the continued use of a route. What one generation learns can become the starting knowledge of the next if the young are present to follow. Repeated success at one flower patch, tide pool, or hunting ground can create a home range, a familiar area revisited because past experience improves future choices. The place becomes easier to use with each return. Landmarks are known. Rewards are expected in certain positions. Risks may also be better understood. Familiarity reduces uncertainty and can increase efficiency. The area is not merely occupied. It is remembered in detail through repeated success. A home range grows from this accumulation, from the way experience makes one portion of the world especially workable for one animal. If an animal mates when hormones, season, and social signals align, that event can shape the timing of nests, births, or parental care weeks later. A brief window of agreement among cues opens into later consequences. The body changes, development proceeds, and future behaviors are set on a path that began much earlier. What seems like a single act is woven into a longer sequence. Timing at one moment reaches forward into other moments, organizing care and reproduction beyond the immediate encounter. Behavior, therefore, does not end when the action ends. It continues in delayed effects carried by the body and its rhythms. Actions guided by memory can change ecosystems. Returning grazers, pollinators, or seed-carrying animals repeatedly move energy and living material along the same paths. A route remembered by an animal becomes a route traced again in the landscape. Plants are visited, grazed, or dispersed in recurring patterns. the effects accumulate because the behavior accumulates. Memory in many bodies can give shape to movement at a larger scale, and that movement redistributes what lives and grows. The path through a meadow, river mouth, reef, or forest is not only a passage, it can also be a repeated line of ecological consequence. Animals that adjust behavior to recent weather often survive better. Delaying a journey, a hunt, or an emergence can prevent wasted energy and exposure. The conditions of wind, temperature, rain, or other recent shifts enter the decision before action begins. Waiting can matter as much as moving. A body that responds to the immediate state of the environment avoids acting on a schedule that no longer fits present conditions. In this way, sensitivity to recent weather becomes part of survival through small, well-timed restraint. A single choice can ripple forward through growth and reproduction. Fleeing instead of feeding may save energy or preserve life in one moment, while also missing a meal. Feeding instead of fleeing may gain food while accepting danger. The body carries the outcome onward. Saved energy, spent energy, gained food, missed food. Each enters the later budget of the animal. Growth may change, reproduction may change. What appears to be one brief decision is folded into a longer accounting. Behavior is always passing something forward, even when the immediate event seems slight. Over long periods, natural selection can favor brains, senses, and body clocks that combine information efficiently. The exact decision rules may differ among species, but the general result is a fitting between body and world. Sensory systems, timing systems, and nervous systems are shaped so that useful cues can be detected and weighed. Some species rely more heavily on scent, some on vision, some on touch, some on inherited sequences, some on learned routes, many on combinations of all of these. There is no single design for action. There are many, each tuned to a different life. It is often possible to describe the cues that matter: light, odor, vibration, temperature, memory, hunger, fear, season, social presence, recent reward, recent danger. Yet predicting one individual animal's next action remains difficult because internal state and recent experience keep changing from moment to moment. What was just eaten, what was just escaped, how warm the body is, whether arrival is near, whether the wind shifts, whether a familiar song is heard instead of a stranger's. The balance moves constantly. Behavior emerges from that moving balance, and so it keeps some of its quiet uncertainty. An animal, then, does not simply receive a command from the world and obey it. It samples what its senses allow. It filters those signals through hunger or satiety, fear or readiness, warmth or cold, season, life stage, social company, memory, and the pressure of what has happened only moments before. It compares, suppresses, selects, and updates. Sometimes it freezes at a shadow. Sometimes it follows a stored route. Sometimes it leaves a food patch while food remains. Sometimes it pauses, outwardly still, while many possibilities gather and fall away inside. In that stillness and in the movement that follows, there is no single answer to what makes an animal do what it does. There is only this layered meeting, senses touching a partial world, the body setting importance, memory leaning in from the past, recent experience tuning the present, and the immediate surroundings offering their mixed and shifting terms. Out of that meeting comes the next act, then the next altered state, then another act again. The pattern continues quietly through river water, desert ground, open sky, snow cover, reef passage, dawn air, and dark soil. Never perfectly fixed, never entirely free, always being made in the moment it appears. Night gathers around the small lives of animals, and the world becomes what each one can gather from it. A faint line of scent in cool air, a tremor in the ground, a wash of light, the touch of a surface, a change in warmth. Nothing arrives whole, only pieces arrive. And from those pieces, a life keeps moving. A moth enters the dark by scent. A hawk enters it by sight. One world is made of drifting molecules. Another is made of distance and edge. The same field lies open beneath them both, yet it is not the same field. It is divided and remade by what can be sensed, by what can be noticed, by what matters enough to draw a body one way and not another. Inside the body, other weather waits. Hunger brightens one thing and dims another. Fear sharpens the outline of danger. Fatigue lowers the whole scene into softness. The hour matters too. Dawn is not the same as noon. Spring is not the same as winter. A cue that passes almost untouched at one time can become powerful at another, as if some quiet gate has opened. Memory lies over the present like a second landscape. A place once crossed is not empty anymore. It carries what happened there before. Food found there. Arrival heard there. A sudden escape. The next time the animal comes near, the air and ground are not new. They are lightly marked already. Recent moments cling as well. A full stomach changes the value of a smell. A narrow escape leaves the body turned toward caution. A fight, a chase, a rest in shade. All of it remains for a while, close to the surface. Even stillness is not empty. What looks like a pause can be a body held ready, senses open, muscles quiet, options gathering in silence. Around that waiting body, the immediate world keeps shifting. Wind turns, cover opens or closes, water moves, noise rises and falls. A companion draws near, a rival remains. The distance to safety changes, the distance to risk changes. Nothing stands alone for long. Then movement begins again, not as a single command, but as many small pressures meeting. A frog waits and a small shape moves. Hunger may lift that motion into importance. Coolness may let it pass. What appears in front of the eyes is only one part of the moment. The body joins it. The hour joins it. The recent past joins it. And the next act comes quietly out of all of them together. A moth flies at night and keeps a steady angle to a distant light. Far away, this rule carries it through darkness. Near a lamp, the same rule bends into confusion. The air is the same air. The wings beat as before. Yet one bright point changes the path, and the path begins to curve. A salmon enters a river and favors familiar chemical traces. The water holds dissolved signs too faint to see, yet they remain there, layered and drifting. The fish moves through them as through remembered rooms. One current carries one note, another carries the next. The way forward is not written in a line. It is gathered in passing. A desert ant crosses ground that seems almost bare. Still it keeps a running measure of distance and direction. Outward, then back. Across heat and open earth, it can return directly, as if the emptiness itself has been quietly counted. Above another landscape, a bat turns after an insect. Each returning echo arrives with a little more shape. Each fraction of a second alters the next turn. The chase is made of tiny revisions, one after another, in darkness too quick to hold still. An owl listens over snow. Beneath the pale surface, a faint rustle travels upward. The bird hangs in the cold air for a breath, then drops. Sound and silence meet in that plunge. White snow opens. The hidden life below is found by listening. A deer grazes and lifts its head, lowers it again, lifts it once more. Feeding and vigilance take turns. Grass, stillness, ears raised, grass again. The field contains both nourishment and uncertainty, and the body moves between them with an old rhythm. A crab meets a looming shadow and escapes before the shape is fully known. Speed matters here. The body chooses distance first. Meaning can come later, or not at all. A sudden darkening overhead is enough. Elsewhere, several conditions gather before courtship begins. Season, body condition, song, distance. One sign alone may not be enough, but when they align, the scene changes. A narrow window opens, and what was only background becomes invitation. At dawn, a songbird sings more strongly. The light is at a certain level. Hormones are in their hour. Others are near enough to hear. For a brief part of the day, these things meet, and the voice rises into the cool air. Then the moment passes, and the branch becomes only a branch again. A female mosquito changes course after mating and the beginning of egg development. What once drew attention fades. Another kind of signal grows strong. The world has not changed. The body has. And so the world appears differently. A bee returns to a flower patch and becomes more efficient there. Colors settle into memory. Shapes become familiar. The spacing between blossoms begins to feel expected. Repetition smooths the path. The patch is no longer a scatter of separate flowers. It becomes a known arrangement, visited again. An octopus first with its arms. Cracks and shells are touched before the whole body enters. Local knowledge comes through contact, through brief tasting at the surface, through the feel of edges and hollows. Exploration spreads outward from the arms, patient and close. A fish in a school shifts with nearby bodies. A little faster, a little left, a little deeper. No single fish holds the whole pattern. The shape of the group forms and reforms from many small adjustments, each one brief, each one enough. Young sea turtles hatch and move away from darker dunes toward brighter open horizons. Then the waves take over, guiding the next part of the journey. Dark behind, bright ahead, water lifting and lowering. A short sequence carries them from sand into sea. A caterpillar leaves abundant leaves and wanders when the time for metamorphosis approaches. Food remains nearby, but another signal has grown stronger. What mattered all day, all season, begins to loosen its hold. The body is already turning toward another form. A large male elephant seal may delay a fight after judging the size and voice of another. There is force in the body, but also a pause around force. A look, a sound, a weighing of what a clash may cost. Not every challenge becomes impact. In many birds, day length stirs migratory restlessness before the journey starts. Activity rises first, like a tide felt before it is seen. The route is not yet under wing, but the body has begun to lean toward it. Then migration unfolds through changing cues. Sun when it is visible, stars when night is clear, landmarks when they appear below, Earth's magnetic field when other guides are hidden. One cue dims, another takes its place. The journey continues by shifting among what is available, as if the sky itself offers several quiet hands. A honeybee returns from rich nectar and dances. Around it, nestmates do not follow blindly. The dance meets what each one has recently found or failed to find beyond the nest. Shared news enters private memory. The next departure grows from both. Predators can form a search image after repeated encounters. One prey shape begins to stand out more readily than others. A color, a contour, a certain small arrangement in grass or water. Tension narrows for a time, and one thing becomes easier to notice. A lizard basks on a rock, then slips into shade, then returns to sun. Back and forth, the body uses place as a gentle instrument. Warmth rises, warmth eases. The rock, the shadow, the open light each have their part. Marine larvae rise or sink at different times of day, meeting light and gravity in ways that place them in different currents. Upward at 1 hour, downward at another. The water carries them, but not always in the same layer. Their small changes of depth open different roads through the sea. A wolf follows a scent trail in bursts. One patch of odor, then another. The path is not a neat line laid on the ground. It comes in fragments, found and lost, then found again. Each patch leans the body onward in a slightly altered direction. After birth or hatching, parental behavior can switch on abruptly. Sounds, smells, hormones, all at once make the cues of offspring especially strong. The same world remains in place, but one small call or one small scent now shines through it with unusual force. A chick that has imprinted on a moving parent-like shape follows it across open ground. One brief early encounter can hold for much longer afterward. The shape moves, the chick keeps pace. A short beginning continues into later action. A forager leaves a patch because recent rewards have fallen below what memory suggests may be found elsewhere. The departure carries comparison inside it. What is here now? What has been better before? The body turns and goes. Some reef fish change cleaning stations or hiding places after a predator scare. Fresh danger outweighs older routine. Place that had been ordinary is altered by one event. The route bends away from it. In winter, a hibernating mammal moves under reduced temperature and metabolism. Responsiveness lowers. Summer behaviors fall quiet for a while, as if set gently on a shelf until another season returns. A shorebird probing mud quickens or slows its pecks according to touch at the bill. Contact after contact, the tempo changes. The next movement is shaped by the one just felt. A territorial bird hears the familiar song of a neighbor and answers less aggressively than it would answer a stranger. Recognition changes the air between them. The voice is not only a voice. It belongs somewhere in memory. Spawning corals wait for narrow windows when lunar timing, water temperature, and daily light align closely enough. For long stretches, nothing visible happens. Then, when the conditions meet, release begins. A quiet sea holds its timing with remarkable precision. And through all of this, at nearly every moment, several tendencies press at once. Feeding, fleeing, resting, courting, caring. None of them disappears entirely. One simply rises above the others for now, like a single ripple catching light while the rest remain in shadow. After a successful forage, urgency softens. The same scent may drift by, and the body does not answer it with the same insistence. Hunger has lowered its voice. For a while, the world grows less sharp around food, and other things can come forward. After fear, a place can keep its danger. Landmarks that were once neutral become marked by memory. A turn in a path, a patch of shore, a cluster of stems. Nothing visible announces the change, yet the animal carries it there and later avoids what was once simply part of the landscape. Repeated success can draw an animal back again and again. A flower patch, a tide pool, a hunting ground. Familiarity settles over these places slowly. Return improves return. Paths become worn not only in soil or water, but in memory. Some routes last because the young travel with the experienced. A migration can pass forward this way, not as a fixed map, but as a practiced one. Wing beside wing, season after season, the line continues through living bodies that remember where to turn. A single choice can travel far into the future, feeding instead of fleeing, fleeing instead of feeding. Energy saved, energy lost. The body keeps the account quietly. Later growth, later breeding, later care may all lean a little from that one moment. And still the next action never becomes fully simple. Internal state shifts, weather shifts, recent experience fades and is replaced. The same animal in the same place is never entirely the same animal twice. So the world remains difficult to predict, even when many of its cues are known. It is always moving a little. The body is always moving a little with it. Perhaps that is why the quiet image that remains is not of certainty, but of readiness. A deer with its head raised above grass, an owl listening over snow, a wolf pausing between odor patches in the dark air. A small body still for a moment, though not at rest. senses open, muscles waiting, memory near, the surroundings shifting almost too gently to see. Then, after that brief held space, one path among many becomes real, and the body enters it. Long after one night passes into another, this remains true across river, dune, forest, rock, reef, grassland, and open sea. No animal meets the whole world at once. It gathers hints. It carries its hour, its hunger, its history, its season, its recent narrow escapes and small successes. From that partial world, it makes the next move, then the next, then the next, quietly, repeatedly, as enduring as dawn light on a branch, as steady as a trail found again, as simple and as intricate as a body waiting in the dark for what it can sense.